Week 11 recap, Week 12 picks about to come at you. Now, I'm going to recap Week 11 really quick before I go on to the Week 12 picks. Now, Week 11 was good for me. It could have been better, but it was good. So as you can see with the Week 11 picks, once again, the against the spread bets were great. 3-1, can't complain there. The only loss being SMU because they couldn't stop a nosebleed defensively. And then money line, I did very well. Best money line result since I revamped my model. Surprisingly, the favorites went 1-2, and I had two big favorite losses. My biggest favorite loss of the year, Washington State. They just looked terrible against Cal and then Alabama, but Hawaii came through. But I did hit a bunch of good dogs like Minnesota, Purdue, Western Kentucky, UTSA, USA, Troy, Appalachian State, all came through for me. So it was a good week, over 4 units of profit. And this result right here is the posted plays in my channel. It doesn't count that $600 play I made on Florida Atlantic for the sake of transparency. So season to date right now, week 11 in the books. The new model is 18-7-1 against the spread, minus 3.82 money lines, but improved from last week. Overall, though, if you factor in the Week 12 win I already have, I'll get there in a second, I am positive for the season right now at 0.26 units. The new model is plus 2.89, so either way, I can't complain. Like I always say, it beats losing. I added a new column to this. It's called the expected loss. So basically, your expected loss is how many units you bet multiplied times the percentage of the juice. So for a minus 110 line, it's your unit times 0.1. So that's how many units you should expect to lose every week, and that's what this column is. So last week, for example, I was expected to lose 1.99 units. I actually won 4.08, which means I beat the expected loss by 6.07. So in terms of profitability, you have to beat the expected loss in the long run to profit. And right now, my expected loss for the season is minus 27.91 units. That's how many units I would be expected to lose if I was just flipping a coin. Because ideally, the lines are just 50-50, so if you just flipped a coin to make all your picks, hypothetically, you would lose the juice, right? And the expected loss for flipping a coin is minus 27.91 units on the year, according to my units bet. So that's what you have to beat to profit. And I am barely beating that right now at 0.26. So I already have a win for week 12. Let's get into that. Now, if you follow me on Twitter at WCLEISS, you'll see me put out plays for the Tuesday and Wednesday games because I usually can't get this video recorded until Wednesday. So I put out this play for Western Michigan on Monday at plus 1.5, and it covered last night to the final score 37-34 in favor of Western Michigan. What do you know? Look at the final score that my blender predicted. I mean, right on target, so I'm already up with Western Michigan for the week. Now, the keys for the spread are going to stay the same, but the money line keys, I'm doing a two-pronged approach this week because running my key generator, it turns out that there's two sets of keys that are pretty much identical in terms of success, so I'm going to use them both this week. The first one is ATM greater than 0.0048 and quarter greater than 0.0046. Those are covered in blue. And the second key is ATM greater than 0.057, while half and dollar are greater than 0. Those are covered in pink. If either one of those keys are met, the money line is a play. They're both strong metrics. They both have identical indexes and everything, so I'm playing them both because they're both solid. So let's move on to picks that haven't happened yet. Tomorrow night's game, Kent State and Buffalo. I like the Golden Flashes here on the money line at plus 190. It meets the first set of keys, which is ATM greater than 0.0048 and quarter greater than 0.0046. Not there on the blender, though, which is why against the spread isn't the play. I like Kent State at home here. I feel like they're due. They've played a lot better this year. Let's hope their offense can get into gear. And this one is only good up to 194, so grab it while it's hot. Another game tomorrow night, UNC and Pittsburgh. My model is all over North Carolina here on both the spread and money line. It projects this to be a very even game, so those 5 points are valuable. North Carolina is good all the way down to 150 on the money line and 3 on the spread. It's a weird play, but my model likes it. It meets both the money line criteria and all the keys, so whatever's going on here, North Carolina is the play. Tulane and Temple. Temple's a 6-point home dog this week, and while my model doesn't like them on the spread, it does like them on the money line at plus 190 as well, just like Kent State. I don't know what to think about this. Both teams have been pretty inconsistent this year, but it's worth a shot on Temple. They're good down to 178. Indiana and Penn State. Indiana back in the top 25, but not getting a lot of respect. and not getting any respect in my model. My model likes Penn State at minus 14.5, projecting between a 15 and 20 point win for Penn State, so it sounds about right. And like I've been saying every week, even though Penn State meets all the keys for money line plays, I don't play money lines that big. If you really want to, go ahead or put it in a money line parlay, whatever you want to do, but I don't play those. And Penn State is only good up to 15, so they can afford another half point of movement, but then that's it. Another 14.5 Big Ten favorite my model likes, only this one is on the road at Nebraska. We got Wisconsin. My model really likes the minus 14.5, projecting between a 17 and 22 point win for the Badgers here. So my model doesn't think they're getting enough respect on the minus 14.5. I don't like it myself personally, but we'll see how it plays out. 14.5 is a lot to cover on the road, especially a team as inconsistent as Wisconsin, but we'll see. Moving along with the minus 14.5 trend, we got another one, Kansas State. West Virginia just looked awful last week, and they just have not looked that great since beating Kansas. And I think K-State continues that. I think West Virginia is the worst team in the Big 12, worse than Kansas. My model loves minus 14.5 for K-State here, projecting a 17 to 19 point win for them. And they're good at minus 15 as well, so keep that in mind. Ohio State and Rutgers. This line is so big it busted my model. Look at the money line outputs. It doesn't even know how to comprehend them. Look at the blender. It's so bad that it's projecting Rutgers for a minus 4. What do you know? But yeah, Ohio State is the play here on the spread at minus 51.5. That's a lot of points to lay on the road, but the only way this doesn't cover is if Ryan Day just says screw it and purposely tries to not cover, because they will otherwise. 55-0 sounds like a reasonable final score to me. Wake Forest and Clemson. Wake Forest is not getting any respect here, 34-point dogs on the road, but my model likes them at plus 34, projecting about a 42 to 14 or so final score for Clemson, so there's some value here for Wake Forest. They're good down to 33. I like this play, even though Wake is without Sage Surratt, I still like this play. Central Michigan and Ball State at home here. Projects about a 4 to 5 point win for Ball State, but not a spread play, just a money line play at minus 135. It meets the first set of criteria, the blue criteria. But at minus 135, I like Ball State here. Big game, Georgia and Auburn. Auburn is a home dog, plus 2.5, plus 125. It's a money line play for me here. It meets all the money line criteria, both sets of keys. Not quite there on the spread, but my model actually thinks Auburn is the favorite here. Even Stevens on the blender, but a 6-point favorite on the ATM. So wrong team might be favored. We'll see. Memphis and Houston. I look at this game and I can't help but think Memphis's game at Tulsa, and they're vulnerable on the road. And Houston has had every reason to give up on the season, but they haven't yet. They've actually played pretty spirited at home against good teams like Cincinnati and SMU. So I think it's worth a shot on Houston here at plus 325, but that's all I like, only down to 325 here. But they do meet both sets of keys. My system projects between a 7 to 9 point win for Memphis, so I like Houston here, I really do. I cringed when I saw this one because I've played Syracuse so many times this year and got burned. They're just not covering. They're just not playing well, and my model is asking me to put money on them on the road at Duke at plus 325, which I will. My model says by about 8 to 10 for Duke, but it's good all the way down to 257 for Syracuse. They meet all the keys and by a good margin, so my model thinks it's a good play, but we'll see. I'm just not convinced here. I don't feel good about this one. Wyoming and Utah State. My system loves Wyoming here, projecting a very even game. So 6.5 is good for Wyoming and plus 205. I think the reason Wyoming is being so disrespected by the odds is because their starting quarterback is out. But let me tell you this, I don't think it matters. I don't think their quarterback was that good. Wyoming is good because of their defense and fundamentals, and they're very well coached, not because of their quarterback. Their backup did just fine at Boise State last week, and I think this week it'll be more of the same. Wrong team is favored here. I love both of these plays. Wyoming is good down to 3.5 and plus 127. This one is a shot. I saw my model turn this one up, and Rice is winless on the year, so asking them to win as a plus 485 on the road is a lot, but my model likes it. It meets the first set of keys with the ATM and quarter. Not there on the spread, projecting about a 12 to 11 point win for Middle Tennessee, but it's worth a shot, you know. That's the whole point of these big money line plays, is that they're going to lose most of the time, but as long as your model perceives the percentage of the team winning to be greater than that of the money line percentage, then you're going to profit in the long run. Cincinnati and South Florida. Now, just like Memphis, I see this game and can't help but think Cincinnati almost losing to East Carolina. So why not South Florida, the team that beat East Carolina? South Florida is a 14-point home dog plus 450. This is a money line shot here. They meet the first set of keys. It thinks Cincinnati wins between 11 and 16 points, so not a spread play, but money line shot, I think it's a good one at plus 450. Air Force and Colorado State. Air Force seems to be a team I have ridden this year, and I think 10.5 is too few points for Air Force. I think they'll cover that. Projecting about a 12 to 15 point win for the Falcons. All the keys are met. I really like this one, and it's good up to minus 11 as well. Appalachian State and Georgia State. How can Appalachian State respond from beating South Carolina? Well, we'll see. I think Georgia State will be fired up for this one, and my system likes both Georgia State on the spread and money line. I don't think Georgia State is getting enough respect here. 16.5 is way too many points to be giving them. It projects about a 10-point win for App State, so the spread looks good. They're good down to 14, and the money line meets all the keys at plus 550. It's a good shot in my opinion. South Carolina, Texas A&M, another money line shot here, plus 325 for South Carolina. I know they're coming off that loss to Appalachian State at home and haven't been playing well since beating Georgia, but they were good enough to beat Georgia, so why not Texas A&M? Projecting about an 8 to 10 point win for the Aggies, so no spread play here, but South Carolina is good at 325 in my opinion, worth a shot. And finally, this one pains me, but Baylor plus 10 on the spread is the play. I hate Baylor. They've gotten so lucky this year. TCU should have beat them like 6 different times last week. I think their unbeaten run runs out this week, but I look at Oklahoma and see that they lost to Kansas State. They almost lost to Iowa State. They just haven't looked as dominant as they have the past 2 years, right? So I think 10 points on the road is way too many points for them to be laying. A touchdown, yeah, but 10 points, that's too much. So unwittingly, I'm playing Baylor on the spread here at plus 10. But they're only good at 10. 9.5 won't do it. And that is it for the plays this week. I'm not showing the no plays because I figured there's no points, so I'm not going to add any. But here's a list of plays this week. We got 11 against the spread and 12 money lines. We already won 1 this week on Western Michigan, so we're starting in the positive. 0.9 is the base unit this week. And all but one of the money line plays are dogs. There's one favorite shot in here, and the rest are dogs, which is how it worked out last week. I won on most of my dogs and lost the favorites. But it's a mix of dogs and favorites on the spread. That wraps up this week's pick video for week 12. I will be doing a recap video this Sunday because I won't be out of town. But let's see how these play out. 3 regular season weeks left, champ week and then bowl games. Slightly in the positive right now. Let's keep increasing that margin so I can beat college football for the 3rd year in a row. Until Sunday, this is Sports Betting Truth signing off.